For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you kind of a sort of pitching / tutorial video about how to pitch your Dometic Rally stay awning. So we're going to go through the process of obviously how it goes onto the rail and pitch it. It's worth mentioning we've done a separate kind of review video on the awning as well, just to kind of give you sort of full kind of clarity on that. But we're going to concentrate purely on the pitching side of things today. So my first recommendation would be, if you've got some sort of the flooring or the footprint, for example, put that down first. Just give yourself a nice clean basis to kind of put the tent up on, or the awning I should say. It just means that if you've got sort of rocky or muddy ground for that matter, it keeps everything all neat and tidy. For the sake of the video, I'm literally just going to pitch this and pack it away again. So we'll kind of come to that kind of in due course in a second. Just take some of these extra bits out. So first thing I want to kind of do is we'll unravel it, just to see where the front is, where the back is, and kind of where everything is in the hole. We want to try and identify where the K-door points is, so the beading that goes into the rail itself. Now, we've got the beadings all along the top here, so what I'll now do is basically bring the awning as close to the van as possible. So we're going to start by kind of almost bringing it, depends, each rail is different on a vehicle. I'm going to start by grabbing it as close as I can to the base. The closer you can get naturally to the awning to start with, or the caravan, just the easier it tends to be when it glides into rail. You can always prep your rail a little bit by putting some sort of silicone sealant or silicone through it, just to kind of make it easier. Hopefully something that's more silicone based rather than oil based. We're just going to start by feeding it into the rail itself. Give yourself a little bit more wiggle room like this, where if you want to, you can also reduce the amount of weight by unzipping the panels that are in the actual awning. I'm just going to work it gradually up in position. I am all tangled here. Let's get this bit. Give myself a bit more wiggle room. There we go. Right. Naturally, you want to kind of make sure the rail, it slides into the rail properly. It can be very common that it kind of catches as you go. Okay, so we're now on. What we can then do is pull and basically into place. So I'm going to position it on kind of the actual caravan itself, making sure we're kind of covering the kind of door enough. As you can see, kind of it's all nicely sort of folded down flat, so we can sort of make sure we're kind of missing windows, anything like that kind of point. First thing I want to do next is actually basically peg the awning firmly against kind of the caravan itself, just to kind of get as tight as possible sort of seal against the caravan to minimise the draft. So what you're looking for is yellow, kind of orangey tabs. Now you want to take this directly straight down from the top point, so it's not splaying out, it's going vertically down. And I'll just peg these kind of maybe probably about half a foot underneath the actual awning itself. The reason being is to try and, you can always easier to slacken it off, but it's hard to get it kind of tighter. So going to do the same this side. When you're inserting the pegs, ideally you want it to be going in sort of almost like a 45-degree angle away from the awning itself. And what we can now do is then pull the fabric out. Where's your frisbee there? Get your frisbee. So now what we'll do is we'll move to isolating the bottom of each tap. So what we've got is a basic inflation and kind of deflation point. So deflation points are on the bottom of each beam. We've got a single inflation point located on the kind of very front cap. So it's going to screw the inflation valve in. And then we'll move about inflating up. So you get a manual pump supplied with the actual awning itself. 9 psi is kind of recommendation. Off you come. You can obviously, like I said, if you want to, there is an electric pump you can purchase to sort of do the work for you. First thing I find, the manual pump is perfectly fine. You know, it doesn't take a whole amount of pumping, regardless of whether you've got, say, you know, the different sizes of kind of the actual rally stay. Personally, again, I always probably urge you, like, with electric pump, you can sort of press a button, sit back, relax, let it do its work for you. The thing you'll find with kind of the manual pump itself is that you kind of don't really get an indication on the pressure. You kind of have to do almost like a very slow downwards pump, just so you can get a bit more of a reading, which is purely down to actually the valve itself. It's a one-way valve, so it needs that sort of backwards pressure on the valve to get the pressure gauge to kind of give a bit of a reading. So you can see we're sort of slowly inflating myself up. So 5 psi right now. What I want to do is, now we're at 5, I'm just going to basically pull it out and into shape. It will kind of freestand in its own kind of right. Pull that middle beam up. Perfect. Lovely. So now we're kind of up. What we do is just kind of increase the pressure for the full 9 psi. Real. Make sure you put that front cap back on as well. The reason, because that's kind of the almost secondary seal for the inflation valve. So if you don't do that, what you tend to find is that you almost have kind of a bit of a slow leak. Now, depending on the weather, depending on how you've pitched it again, we're just going to make sure we slipped out the pegging point here, so we bring that back a little bit further. Again, ideally we want to go underneath the vehicle. The standard pegs you get with it are kind of, they're okay, but it's never a bad thing to buy something a bit more industrialised. They're kind of just sort of plastic pegs as standard. Now what we'll do is basically make sure we're kind of square. So again, you've got these orange tabs located at the front. So we're going to make sure we're nice and square, we're not sort of twisted in any sort of way. Just give the awning a bit of TLC. It's got a bit too far across in that one. That's better. Perfect. Again, we'll just go directly out from there, peg that orange tab, just give it a little bit of a pull out, not too much. We want this to be perfectly square on the front. So again, with this, we can kind of pull ourselves across and out from there. Yeah, looking fine. Now, next point of call we want to do, we're not actually peg the middle point. We're going to do, there's 2 orange triangles that are kind of on the basis over this side over here. So that's the next point of call, because that itself stops the front beam from sitting too far further forward. I personally like to sort of peg that almost back on itself to sort of stop it jumping forward. From here, what we can do is then work around the actual awning, just doing all the pegging points. Depending on things like the doorways and stuff, I always recommend crossing over the pegging points. So all the skirts need to go inside, and then with the pegging points like it's on the side doors, you cross them over. So that way it's naturally kind of bringing the side panel and in terms of the zip together. And again, with this one, with the door, because depending if you're going to utilise this door, I kind of bring that sort of a little bit back towards the back of the caravan. Just means that when you kind of open that door, you still have lots of tension on the awning itself. And here's corner points again, we'll cross that over. Doesn't really matter what order you kind of do it in. We just got to work our way around. Again, mud skirts underneath. There's actually a Velcro patch in the centre of the mud skirt as well. So just make sure you kind of do that. Again, with the side panels, with these in particular, there is a slight curvature to them. They are angled. So again, with the front panels itself, we'll kind of splay them outwards. And then the central one just goes directly down. Exactly the same with this one. Way out. Come back to that second, get some more ladders. And then we'll just do the side panels. Again, exactly the same thing, just making sure we're kind of crossing over everywhere. It's almost not a bad thing having the kind of the curtains open, so you can see with the kind of front section, making sure there's not kind of too much in the way of you know, too much strain on it. Just going to clip those on. Again, peg that crossway, keeping tension throughout it. We're trying to get, obviously, like I said, the panel itself looking nice and taut. You can sort of pick and change how it is in a way. You've got a bit more adjustment in the panels, for example, so we can bring that kind of further out. So just tension that in, and then fast by always least, we've then got the front storm straps. These are designed to go directly out. You basically peg the base out as well as the side. Sorry, base as well as kind of the main, yeah. So we can then just tail that in. There's a little clip there as well, just to retain it. You don't want to kind of split it too much, just enough to hold it in position. And there's also some optional extra storm straps you can purchase just to give a bit more tension to the top section. Perfect. You're getting caught on. What is going on here? Someone's, there we go. Lovely. Well, so we're up, we're stable, we're looking good. What we'll then do is we'll move on to packing away the rally stay. So now I pack down the rally stay and kind of do the same thing in reverse really. So what I want to do actually is almost unpeg everything apart from the main four corners, i.e. the pegging points that basically were the orange points. So we'll leave the kind of the back two corners kind of pegged in. Just work our way around. Naturally, if you've got wind coming from a certain direction, I'd probably recommend just kind of giving it a little bit more of a time and stability. So leave maybe a few pegging points in coming from the direction the wind's coming. But for the purposes, we're luckily on a nice calm day today. So we can just make our way around it, unpeg all the main corners. Lovely jubbly. Perfect. So now we've kind of done that, we'll just deflate the beams itself. There's just a big isolation tap at the bottom, so we can just turn that. So all the pressure there is going to come out. Once we're at this point here, we can just remove the final pegging points. That's okay. Brilliant. And then we can then now slide it off the rail. Now, again, this way probably you would leave your carpet in on the ground, for example, just so you've got something to fold up on directly onto. Now what I want to do is actually flip it onto its roof section. So we kind of open it up onto its roof. Get it nice and square. By having all the panels with, again, it depends if you want to leave the panels in or remove said panels. It's entirely up to yourself. So basically got a nice long line. At this point here, what I tend to do is flip the sides directly in. So we're kind of creating a rectangle, if you will. Now everyone has different sort of packing methods. For me, this is kind of the way I prefer to do it. The reason I kind of do it this way is because it's all about managing the overall sort of internal airflow. Now, once you've kind of got it on its roof, I want to sort of fold it in about a bag size width. Just kind of pulling it, put it over. Give it a little bit of a press down if you like. Just to kind of work the air towards the valve. Because all our basically deflation valves are located at the very bottom of the awning. Again, sometimes it's up to you whether you want to just kind of press down on the beams. The reason I'm doing this, again, is just kind of naturally just pushing the air out towards the very end. We can flip that point in. And then we go again. So we've got ourselves a nice big long sausage. Now what I want to do is put the bag at the very bottom of this point. We can grab one of our ties, chuck that underneath the awning a little bit, just so it's kind of halfway through. The reason we're doing that is really so when it comes to, we get to our final roll, we're in the position where it will be directly on top of the tie. Now, I'm rolling from the very top where the cater is, down towards the base. Again, this is because obviously the top of the awning itself is all like a solid end, whereas the bottom of the tubes are all at that end. So what we're doing is as we're kind of rolling it, we're naturally kind of pushing all of the air out towards the base. Because we left our tie in the right position, we can then just tie it off to keep it neat and tidy. And then we can either chuck the bag over the top of it, roll it over, perfect, and we're done. Compression straps nicely packed away. Don't forget that. But that's basically how you're going to put the rally stay up and down. For more information, check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. Got more information, things like pack sizes, floor dimensions, individual features all listed there as well. But hopefully it's been helpful. A bit more of a tutorial video. But we look forward to seeing you again next time in our next Attwoolls Outdoors videos.